Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack the surprising stories and get right to the heart of what's happening. Today we're looking at something pretty wild, the idea of a single digital gold-backed currency for Africa. They're calling it AfroGold. But the really stunning part, the country picked to, well, pioneer it, to lead the first steps. It's Zimbabwe.
Nice.
Yeah, Zimbabwe, the place we all associate with, currency chaos and that unbelievable hyperinflation. So our mission today is to figure out how on earth Zimbabwe, with that economic history, became the blueprint for AfroGold. We'll dig into the why, the mechanics, the big vision behind it all. And we've got some great insights, sort of behind-the-scenes stuff from an African Union summit in Lusaka. That's thanks to Supreme Africa Breaking News and some internal AU sources. Gives us a unique look.
Yeah, it really is fascinating because this signals, a huge shift for African financial independence, doesn't it? We've heard talk about unity, about economic freedom for years, decades even. But AfroGold, this feels different. It's like, okay, we're moving beyond just talking. These are actual building blocks going up. It plugs into that bigger trend you see across the continent, nations wanting to control their own economic destiny.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Zimbabwe's economic past. Well, it's infamous. We all saw the headlines, right? Currency collapsing, hyperinflation so bad you needed, wheelbarrows of cash for groceries. The Zim dollar basically vanished. Then came the bond notes, pegged to the US dollar.
Right, but that didn't really stick either, did it? Trust evaporated pretty quickly.
Exactly. It became this textbook example of, what not to do with monetary policy, a real warning sign.
Absolutely. Yeah. But here's where the story flips, completely unexpectedly. Early 2024, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, the RBZ, launches something new. ZiG stands for Zimbabwe Gold. And the crucial difference, the absolute game changer compared to everything before, it's backed by actual gold sitting in RBZ vaults. And other assets too, like lithium, diamonds, tangible stuff. It wasn't just printing more notes. It was an attempt to say, look, this is real. It's tied to something valuable, a reset on trust.
Okay, but given that history, that baggage, what was it about ZiG that actually caught the AU's eye? It seems so unlikely they'd be impressed.
It does seem counterintuitive, yeah. But AU delegates, when they looked closer, saw some, let's say, hard-won lessons in ZiG, even in its early days. First, there was this commitment, apparently quite strict, from the government about monetary discipline. Not just printing ZiG endlessly. That was huge. Second, that physical gold reserve match. Each unit issued actually corresponding to real backing, a total departure from the past. Third, and this surprised many, it showed relative stability for months after launch. It held its ground locally, which hadn't happened in ages. And finally, inflation, while still an issue, showed historical improvement under ZiG, a noticeable change. So nobody was calling it perfect, far from it. But they saw it as a lesson-packed model, a real-world test case, warts and all, that AfroGold could learn from.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It reminds me of that quote we saw from a Kenyan central bank official, something like, we kind of laughed at ZiG at first, but when you look at how the RBZ managed supply versus reserves and compare it to AfroGold's goals, the alignment is, well, surprising.
Exactly. It's like the AU is saying, okay, Zimbabwe stumbled badly, but maybe they learned something valuable in the process that we can all use now, turning failure into a foundation.
Right. So what specific lessons did the AU pull from ZiG's rollout? What actually worked on the ground? And what were the clear mistakes AfroGold needs to avoid?
Well, on the plus side, there was a deliberate public confidence campaign. The Ministry of Finance really pushed it, which you absolutely have to do in that situation. They also banned foreign pricing in some areas to try and force demand towards ZiG, stabilize it a bit. And critically, that transparent weekly reserve reporting system, that was new. Showing people the backing was actually there week by week. That built some fragile trust.
Okay, but it couldn't have been smooth sailing. What went wrong? What are the big don't do this notes for AfroGold?
Oh, plenty went wrong. Big challenges. Digital access was really limited. It was still very much a cash-based thing for many, which isn't ideal for a modern currency. It also relied too heavily on just local trust. It wasn't really built with regional integration in mind from the start. Public education was slow, patchy, lots of confusion initially. And maybe the biggest hurdle, diaspora markets. Getting Zimbabweans abroad to trust it, to send remittances in ZiG, very low uptake, that's crucial money. So the AU's thinking, as one delegate apparently said, is pretty practical. Take the good, leave the bad. They're dissecting the whole ZiG experience, not just copying it.
So Zimbabwe isn't just a case study then. They're actively involved. What's their specific role in actually piloting AfroGold?
Yeah, they're hosting the first AfroGold test platform. It's a pretty central role, actually. They're using their central banking systems, the ones they've been setting up for ZiG, plus their gold auditing processes as a kind of basic framework. The pilot involves a lot. Simulating those real-time gold reserve matching algorithms, making sure the digital currency always mirrors the physical reserves. That's complex stuff. They're doing cross-border transaction tests with neighbors Zambia, Mozambique, South Africa, seeing how it works in practice between countries, testing it with merchants, developing tools for Pan-African pricing pegged to AfroGold. How does a shop in Harare price things alongside one in Lusaka using this? And this is key. Developing digital wallets and mobile platforms designed specifically for rural Africa, where mobile money, not necessarily smartphones, is dominant. Plus, implementing AI monitoring tools, trying to spot currency abuse or panic selling early, learning from the past manipulations that have hurt African economies, building in technological trust.
Wow, that's a lot. So Zimbabwe isn't controlling AfroGold, just providing the test bed, the economic engine room for the trial runs.
Exactly. They're helping build and test the engine, not steer the ship.
But are there risks, political sensitivities, having one country, especially Zimbabwe with its history, host this first platform?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a sensitive point. But the thinking, as one AU fintech strategist apparently put it quite bluntly, was they've already learned what not to do. Now they're finally doing something right. The idea is that their experience, even the failures, give them unique insights into the pitfalls. Painful insights, but valuable. The risks are there, public perception, ensuring it stays truly multilateral. But the AU seems to be betting that Zimbabwe's tough lessons make it the ideal stress test location, if it can work there.
Which brings us to the connection between the two. What's the shared philosophy, the DNA linking ZIG and AfroGold?
At their core, both ZIG and AfroGold are driven by this mission to end what some call currency colonization.
Explain that a bit more.
It's the idea that relying heavily on foreign currencies, like the dollar or euro, gives outside powers too much influence over African economies, trade, and even policy. It can trap countries' independency. So both ZIG and AfroGold aim to anchor value in Africa's own resources, primarily gold, but other things too, taking back control, if you compare them directly. Backing. ZIG uses Zimbabwe's gold, lithium, diamonds. AfroGold aims to use pooled gold reserve from all participating AU members. Much bigger base.
Right. Continental versus national.
Format. ZIG is physical and semi-digital. AfroGold is planned as fully digital, mobile first. Crucial for accessibility across Africa.
Scope. National versus continental, as you said.
Oversight. ZIG is the RBZ, AfroGold, a proposed AU Central Monetary Council. Collective governance.
Makes sense.
And inflation strategy. This is key. ZIG has limits tied to gold audits. AfroGold plans an algorithmic issuance cap tied to audited reserves, potentially using smart contracts and blockchain.
So building trust through technology, taking human politics out of the printing press.
Precisely. Automating the link between currency supply and real audited assets, making it transparent, harder to manipulate. That's the theory, a direct response to past problems. And the underlying belief is, if ZIG can show even some stability in Zimbabwe's challenging environment, then AfroGold, with broader backing and smarter tech, could really take off. There's even talk, about Zimbabwe testing retail gold coin trading in rural areas. That idea might feed into how AfroGold allows micro-purchases of gold-backed tokens eventually, empowering ordinary people.
This sounds like it's way beyond just being a new way to pay for things. What's the bigger picture, the grand vision for AfroGold?
That's where it gets really ambitious. Some see it as the economic bloodline of the One Africa government. Maybe not literally a single government, but the financial glue for much deeper continental integration. It represents potential freedom from those cycles of IMF loans and conditions, less dependence on holding vast foreign currency reserves, and crucially, protection against external currency manipulation, basing value on Africa's own wealth, not foreign debt or goodwill.
So the goals are revolutionary, really.
Absolutely. Empowering borderless trade, not just making payments faster, but cutting through the mess of different currencies, exchange rates, fees that currently stifle trade within Africa, creating a shared economic identity, linking AU nations through one secure transaction system, and the long-term vision. It gets even bigger. Maybe AfroGold incorporates carbon credits, green energy tokens, regional market scores, becoming this multi-layered tool of African economic power. If they pull it off, it could be more than just a currency, potentially a civilization-defining instrument, as one source put it. Really profound stuff.
Okay. Back down to earth for a moment. How are people in Zimbabwe actually reacting to this, from being mocked to being a model? And what's the view globally?
In Harare, it's mixed. as you'd expect.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a thread of cautious optimism, even pride. You hear things like, we were laughed at for years, now they want to learn from us, that feels good. Validation. But others are more skeptical, naturally. They're still dealing with daily economic realities. Zig isn't perfect, prices still go up. Hope AfroGold learns the right lessons.
Understandable caution.
Yeah. But entrepreneurs, they seem quite excited. Potential access to bigger AU markets. Academics who worked on Zig feel vindicated. Globally, it's definitely making waves. Institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, Bloomberg analysts, they're suddenly looking very closely at the Zig model. We saw that leaked memo from a U.S. research group.
Yeah.
Basically saying if AfroGold works, it could seriously challenge dollar dominance in African trade by, 2030, 2035?
That's a huge statement.
It is. And China is apparently interested in the tech side, Germany offering help with AI governance, France wanting observer status. It shows a real shift. Zimbabwe, once dismissed, is now seen as this, complex but critical player in a potential new financial game.
And other African nations, are they buying in? Or is there resistance?
No, there seems to be significant buy-in or at least serious engagement. Kenya's offered help with digital wallets, cybersecurity, vital stuff. Ghana wants to test exchange mechanisms between AfroGold and its CD. South Africa is focused on making sure it integrates smoothly with existing financial rules, tax systems, practical concerns.
Right, keeping it grounded.
Nigeria, a huge economy, is cautious but sent observers and is reportedly considering trials in Lagos. That would be massive. Even smaller countries like Eswatini, Lesotho, they're offering to trial it in informal markets. Shows grassroots potential. The AU chairperson, Joan Lorenzo, summed it up. This is the beginning of financial unity. As practice, not just talk.
Okay, let's jump ahead. Imagine it's 2030. If this works, what does AfroGold actually look like for people? Paint us that future picture.
Okay, 2030. You could see AfroGold being accepted widely, shops, hotels, airports, border crossings across many AU countries. Seamlessly. Maybe it's used for paying continental road tolls, university fees, cross-border trade taxes, simplifying daily life and business. Underneath, it's running on smart contracts that prevent anyone from just printing more apparence. Its value is protected by transparent rules and tech, audited regularly, maybe monthly, by an independent Pan-African body, secured by blockchain, built in Africa. And imagine Africans working abroad sending money home using AfroGold. Cheaper, faster remittances that also directly boost AU treasury reserves. It becomes this self-reinforcing ecosystem.
Wow. It's really been quite the journey we've traced today, Zimbabwe, from being the poster child for economic disaster, a warning sign, to now somehow becoming this reference point for rebuilding, for rebirth almost. Their struggles are shaping a continental ambition. And AfroGold itself, it feels like more than just policy, born from Africa's own, soil and struggle. It's a powerful narrative shift.
Absolutely. And it's crucial to remember, as the sources suggest, this isn't about idolizing Zimbabwe or ignoring the past. It's about learning from every single mistake, every failure, and turning that into a smarter strategy for everyone. The message seems to be, the gold is real, the potential is real, and this time Africa aims to build its financial future itself. The moment feels, now.
So here's something to leave you with. If this audacious vision for AfroGold actually succeeds, think about how that could fundamentally shake up global economic power, challenging long-established financial systems. What does that mean for international finance as we know it? It really makes you pause and reconsider what's possible when a continent decides to write its own economic story.